Welcome to the Braddog Media Show with your host, Gary Fasca.
All right, Rodrigo, welcome to the Braddog Media Show. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. I know you had to sprint back from a shoot. You're a busy man.
That's right, but I had to make it here.
Awesome. Man, so I came across you on Instagram, had to get you on. I know a lot of videographers and a lot of photographers, people in the content creation space, and it really just seems like you're doing things right. So it was awesome to land you and get you on here today. I think you're going to help a lot of people out. It seems like in the video world, it's very hard for people to actually turn like video projects into a real business. So that's something that I'm really curious to talk to you about because, man, what do you think it is that holds people back? If they might have the video skills, but we can just go ahead and dive into it.
Do it.
How do you actually turn that into a business?
I mean, it's one of those things. It depends where you're starting off at, right? Like for me, it's one of those situations. I got into video by like I call it accident, but like I've always been passionate about video. Like I did a little GoPro stuff here and there, but it wasn't until like I was living in New York City that I found that I was like, oh my God, I could actually make money or make a living using video. So, for me, it was a whole journey of, trial and tribulation. Well, I'm struggling with that one.
Yeah,
English is not my first language. Tribulations. Yeah, English is not my first language. It's my second language. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
And for me, it was a journey of learning that and, being in the right atmosphere and being around the right people and networking. Now, for a lot of other people starting out, it depends in what position you're in. If you're able to work for an agency and get experience, I think that's really one of the fast tracks for someone. I would totally skip film school. You might learn some stuff there. You might meet some cool people, but the amount of money that you're going to put into going to film school, you could take that money, go do a workshop, go work for one of the best media companies, and that is going to help you, just fast track the process. Because there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to learn in film school, especially for most people getting started into video right now.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting, and that's something that I've heard from other people as well. They don't really recommend film school, and a lot of people, they'll go to school for something completely different and need to just pick up a camera for a project for some reason, and next thing you know, they're a top videographer because they fell in love with that. So it's pretty interesting how that happens.
Yeah, I think like film school, where I don't want to knock film school because I think there's a place for it. I just think we have moved past that, and I've hired film students before to work on projects. But like the thing about film school is that they really teach you how to make films, right? So the problem or the thing that gets lost in translation is the pace. For a lot of projects, for what people are looking for small business owners, you can't take 4 or 5 hours to set up a shot. Like they don't even have 4 or 5 hours of their time to spend with you. So like, you need to learn how to be fast. You need to learn what is a mandate that you need to get right on the shot and what doesn't matter. Because I think in film school, you learn how to make that perfect picture. And I think with social media, the content's so fast that you need to learn to let go of certain things. But that's just what I found. I think you learn the fundamentals in film school, but you're able to learn from some of the best people in the world right now via the internet. And like, I'm sure you have a great film school teacher, but unless you're going to like some of the top places in the world, even at that point, like, you can learn from the best people out there right now and learn straight from them. I just think that, the money that you don't spend there is worth a lot more than that.
Yeah. I would think so too. And I guess it does depend on the purpose because like in your case, you mainly shoot content for social media and digital advertising, right? Isn't that more of your lane?
Yeah. So we specialize in corporate corporate filmmaking, and we do some TV stuff here and there, but most of our stuff is based around creating strategies for business owners where they can leverage video content. So for us, most of our popular package is, for most business owners, we shoot a profile business video, which this is the one, it's 1 to 2 minute video. Hey, we're Rodrigo Tasca Film Production Studios. We help small businesses, yada, 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 something like that. Then, a testimonial video, and then even a frequently asked questions video, because these are all things that the business owner has to deal with all the time. And then being able to provide a video strategy where this can help alleviate some of their time and freedom, it's worth a lot to them. So that's what we focus on for the most part. And then there's always, social media campaigns. We work with the coffee company where I run ads for them and also create content for them as well. So it varies.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's something I really wanted to get into too, because I think a big problem for videographers and photographers out there is getting that reoccurring revenue coming in and getting those retainer customers, because it's so hard to build a business just on freelance, because if you don't have any client locked in, on a long-term basis, it's very hard to build that income and, really turn it into a business. So, man, for somebody out there who has the video skills, how would you recommend they actually start building a client base and, building up that monthly retainer and things like that?
Yeah, so I think the best way for you to build a monthly retainer is to find another business in your area that already services the customers that you're looking to work with. So for me, was finding a marketing agency that already worked with, small businesses doing kind of like graphic design stuff, but they didn't offer any video. So me coming in as kind of like a subcontractor, being able to add something to their arsenal, and then they get to tax on top of that with the client, that helped a lot. And I think for a lot of people is that, there's I guess call it like a scaffolding kind of or scaffolding kind of motto that you're gonna go up in levels, right? And you're gonna build up. So I think the best part if you're starting out, like I said, go work for somebody, get a feel of what that is like, because the more that you have to take on by yourself in the beginning, the harder it gets for you.
Yeah.
But now if you end up working for somebody and now you're learning how their procedures and things are, you're able to adopt that very quickly and then implement that into what you're doing. So if you start working with a marketing agency and you're ready to kind of see, how are they communicating with the client? How are they delivering assets? How are they getting paid? These are all things I had to learn the hard way by working by myself. But if you're able to, work with an agency, you're going to learn a lot of these baby steps that, that's going to help you move along. So find a marketing agency, do, a couple of projects for free for them so they know what it's going to be like working with you, but then you also get to work with them. On top of that, now you just built yourself a little portfolio, right? Because you need to show, the biggest thing I learned moving back from New York was that, you need to show the business owners the kind of work that they're looking for. I left New York and I was doing a lot of, fashion stuff, like modeling kind of things. When I got to Florida, I talked to a couple of business owners and I showed them my portfolio, and they're like, your portfolio looks great, but what am I going to do with the modeling video? It didn't make sense to me because it's a great video, but they're like, yeah, I'm a business owner. How does this fashion video relate to my business? So I was like, oh, that's the problem there. So I had to go and I shot a couple of free videos so then I could show another business owner, hey, listen, business owner, I worked with other people exactly like you. This is the kind of videos that we made for them, and these are kind of results that they got. Is that something that you're interested in? It helps you change the conversation. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you got to have that portfolio, find some clientele that works with clients you're looking for, and then you're going to start building a name for yourself. Because all it takes is you working with one right person to recommend you to the other one. Some of my biggest clients right now is from people I did a free project for, but they were very affiliated. I worked with a big food influencer in my market. She's about 30,000 followers. But, she recommended me to one company because she does a lot of sponsorship stuff. And then this big distribution company, I was like, hey, we need a video. And they're like, hey, go talk to Rodrigo. And that was off a free thing, right? So like when I do free work, I do leverage who I do free work for, because I know if they're connected and people are going to see their video, that helps me potentially lead more clients.
Yeah, man, that's a smart approach. It's almost like a cheat code, and it's all about relationships at the end of the day. It's funny how that like comes up in pretty much every conversation I have here. It always comes to relationships and who you know.
What is it? Your network equals your net worth?
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
You know what I mean? So it's all about who you know.
It's crazy. And how much would you value getting a niche? Somebody in video. Is there value in that? Or is it better to actually have, more of a wider skill set?
Depends where you are on your journey. When you're starting out and you don't have clients, I say shoot everything, right? Because, for me, I've done weddings, I've done real estate. I mean, like I've done all different types of videos. And you, by working all those different types of videos, you learn a lot of different things or a lot of different skills that normally, you wouldn't get the chance to come across a situation. But because you got to shoot so many different projects, you kind of get familiarize yourself with a bunch of different situations is how you can handle them. So when you're starting out, shoot everything and shoot for anyone that's going to pay you, right? And I think as you progress, you start to realize what kind of videos do I enjoy doing more, and what are the type of videos that you get to charge more money for. So, for us, we kind of niched for a while going towards dentists, but then we, linked up with this TV station, and we were just pumping out commercials for a whole year, which was great because that also changed. I went from doing like 2 to 3 minute videos to making 30-second commercials, which is like a whole different type of production. And I learned a lot about that. I learned what it was to work with, like, a Fortune 500 agency type thing. And now what I'm realizing, as I progress, and that's the thing too, like, you might enjoy shooting something 1 year, the next year that might change. So in Florida, like the real estate market's huge. And, I tried going after realtors in the past, and I don't really like working with realtors as much because most of them don't have the marketing budgets to really invest, a couple hundred, even $1,000 into a project. But now I found custom home builders. There's a lot of people with money here that are looking to make custom homes. So being able to, help someone that's selling an $11 million home or, a $30 million home sell a project faster, there is an upside that you could charge them for the production you're bringing to them. Now, that's where I want to go next, because I lost a project to an agency that all they do is shoot for custom home builders. That didn't work with anybody else, just that. So, when it comes down to me charging $4,500 for a video and them charging $4,500 for videos, but all they do is custom home building videos, I'm not going to win the project. Like, unless me and the guy had an awesome relationship in the past and things like that, they're going to go with somebody else because they have the expertise in that. So I think it's a progression of getting there. And I think, at one point you're going to want to niche down. But if you're just starting out, get all the jobs that you can, figure out what brings you joy of doing the most, and, start pursuing that, because you can have a bunch of different niches in the sense of, what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of value too is just having that portfolio. So you could have a few niches that you have a different portfolio with, and depending on the prospect, you have a portfolio to show off to them. So
exactly,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
man. Another topic I'd really like to dive into, and we briefly touched on it before this started. You're featured in GaryVee's Crushing It. And I know this is a pretty cool story that I don't have a whole lot of background on, just a little bit. So I'd really love to dive into that. And how in the world did you get featured in Crushing It?
Yeah, so the whole Gary Vee thing started for me in 2015. I was living in New York City. I was doing all different types of odd jobs, from like catering to being a butler and like bartending, or like whatever it was. If somebody was paying me, I was doing what I can to pay rent. And I was working at this event. It was Tech Week 2015. I was cooking. This guy comes on stage, and like honestly, most of the like this was the second day of the event, and I was at this point like it wasn't what tech is now, right? Tech right now is fun, like everybody enjoys tech. You know, tech 5 years ago or 6 years ago, like at this convention, like I was ready to blow my brains out because I was like literally so freaking bored. Like I was just like, oh my god! And this guy comes on, and he's like, they're like, Gary, what's a story, that not a lot of people know about you? And he's like, when I was 11 years old, I bought Shaq O'Neal dolls at the dollar store, because at that time, the dollar store isn't what it is now. It's like whatever like Kmart wouldn't sell, the dollar store would get. So this time, Shaq was changing teams, and the dollar store had all these dolls for $1. I bought all the dolls from there and returned them to Kmart and got $10,000. I was like, yo, what is up? I was like, who the hell is this dude? I was like, you just like that's something that I would have done. And and the guy's just like, yeah, like I'm about to get on a plane, this is this and that. Like as soon as we're done, like I'm out of here. And I was like, yo, all right, cool, who's this guy? And literally as soon as he finished this talk, Gary was like out the door, like gone. And I looked him up and I started seeing all this stuff from Gary. And then I saw that he dropped his book, Crush It. And I'm not a big reader. English is not my first language. So like for me to read something, like it's so hard for me to retain that information. But like audio and visual, it's like I'm there, like I connect. So at that time, I was still broke. So I illegally downloaded the book version, the audio version of it. And I was listening through my commute, going to work here and there. And at that talk, Gary had talked about following your dream, right? That was like really when he was like, listen, if you love freaking Teletubbies or Pokemon, whatever it is, like you can make $50,000 talking about Pokemon if you want to, but like you got to put in a lot of work. But like this is the time for you to go and crush it. And I was just like, dude, this guy's right. And later on that week, I was working another event that I think we did like a Sprite event for the catering company we're working for. And I was literally sitting there holding a tray of champagne, and this dude's like walking by like with a gimbal and thing. I was like, dude, that looks way better than what I'm doing. I was like, why the hell am I here holding this tray? And this dude is with the camera shooting this dope event for Sprite. And that summer I saved up money, bought my first camera, and just started shooting. Got to the point of just networking and being in New York City that I was able to stop doing all my other side hustles. And this was like during being a butler, bartending, like whatever it was that I could do. I was making now, like, I think I was like averaging like $150 a day for like doing videos or like headshots or something, that I was like, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to do photo full time, photo, video. I was doing more photo back then than video, but I was like, honestly, I'll do whatever anybody who's paying me. And it got to a point it got really busy, but it also got really cold. Like it was like 2016, and I was like right after the winter, and I was like honestly like feeling depressed of just being in New York City, of walking out and it's freaking 8 degrees outside and it hurts to breathe. Yeah. And I was just like, why am I so miserable here? So that summer I left, or that spring I moved back to Florida, and pretty much started the whole, my journey into the video production down here. And I went to a whole rebranding thing, and I learned the important, like in New York City, being a one-man band in 2016 was like, it was normal, right? It was like you needed to shoot, edit, produce, all of that. Like if you wanted a gig, that's what you needed to do. When I got to Florida and I was calling businesses, I was like, hey, this is Rodrigo from Rodrigo Tasca Production. And they're like, Rodrigo who? And that's kind of where my Instagram came from. Like Rodrigo who was from, like when I was literally calling businesses and then be like, hey, this is Rodrigo from Rodrigo Tasca Production, and they didn't understand. They're like, wait, so you're one man band that does all this stuff by yourself? I was like, yeah. And they're like, nah, like we hired people before. This is like a team of people. I'm like, nah, like I'm from New York. And they're like, nah, we don't want the business. So I went through a whole, branding thing. I went from Rodrigo Tasca Productions to Tasca Studios, and the studios is literally my parents' house, which is Tasca, and then I was sharing my sister's bedroom with her, which that was our little studio, and we started a business from there. And at that time, still following GaryVee's content and trying to grow and learn about marketing and all this stuff. And Gary talked one day about how if you want to get to someone, because at this point I'm trying to get clients badly, right? I'm like, literally had no money, moved back home, didn't have a driver's license. Like I was like in the worst position ever, bro. Like in between sleeping on couches to like air mattresses, it was like whatever I could do to get a client, I was doing. And Gary starts talking about if you want to get to someone, what do they care about? And at this point, I wanted to get to Gary Vee. So I started following everyone that, works with him, from like Babin to D-Rock, Alexis Simone, like everyone that was in his team. And one day, one of the guys that works with him, they're like, hey, we're working on Crushing It. We're looking for stories of anyone that has read Crush It and where they were at to where they're at now. And I was like, yo, I got a story for you. And I shared how like I came across Gary. I was living in New York, and, I illegally downloaded the audio, and how I moved back home, and I started a business with my sister, and I went from like, this is my second year of business, and I think at that time, or that second year of business was just 2018. I think I made $47,000, and that was me working like full time in my business, and my sister working part time with me. And she was like hostessing and like helping me do admin stuff here and there. And I just shared that story with him. And I went through a little interview process, and then found out that year that they're going to feature me in the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
So I got to meet Gary Vee from that. He like sent me like a signed book and stuff like that. And I ended up connecting with this other, he's a big martial artist, Victor Belfort.
Yep.
But he like read the book, and then like one day calls me, and he's like, yo, Rodrigo. I was like, hey, he's like, this is Victor Belfort. And like I went on my social media and like looked him up. Dude has like 1 million freaking Instagram followers. He's like, hey, I just read your book. He's like, I'm from Brazil. Da 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 da. He's like, I want to work with you. Like, let's connect. So I was working with him for a little bit, and then one day he called me. He's like, yo, just get off the phone, Gary. He's like, he's flying down to Florida, and he wants to meet. We're gonna go up to the Four Seasons in Orlando. I was like, let's go, bro. So we drove up to Orlando, and we met with Gary at the Four Seasons. Like chilled for like about an hour. Just like sat down and talked to him. We're there. And he's like, yo, Gary, you know how I found this guy? And Gary is like, how? Like your book. So it was such a crazy experience. Yeah, man. I'm still like can't believe that this whole thing happened.
That's insane, man. Vitor, he's a legend.
Yeah, bro.
That's a scary dude.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he has quite a few knockouts under his belt. He's not a guy to mess with, that's for sure.
He's trying to make a comeback right now.
Yeah, I saw. So he's not in the UFC anymore, but yeah, if
he wants to fight Jake Paul.
Man, that'd be a rough day for Jake.
Dude, from what I've seen, like Jake spends a lot of time fighting, and I mean, I got a love for Victor, but it's like, Jake's a young dude. He's been training, but I also know that Belfort's a beast. So it would definitely be a fight that I'd pay to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. Vitor's been fighting about 30 years, I think, and Jake's been fighting like 3. So I don't know.
I'd pay to watch that.
Yeah, no, totally. It's crazy what's going on in boxing. Like, yeah, Mayweather's fighting Logan Paul. I mean, what a world!
you know, but that's the thing. They're realizing that it's in the thing that Gary talks about, right? Like that whole middleman distribution thing.
Yeah.
It's getting so far away. Like the middleman is going away and away and away and away. People want to make shit happen and fight. So like think about how many people like go to YouTube to watch a fight now. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's crazy.
It's insane. Yeah, it's like anybody can be a media company, you know, and now some of the media companies are boxing. What a world.
It's crazy.
Man, so when you sit down with Gary Vee after looking up to him for however long, how does that conversation go? What's like the first thing you tell him?
I was like, bro, you changed my life. Like, and I told him, because he really did, man. Like the impact of just being featured in a book, like the amount of people. So like right now, my trajectory. So right now, the path that I'm in, you know, with YouTube came because of people that read the Gary Vee book, right? So I had a couple of instances of like people from around the world. They'll like hit me up on like IG, and they're like, "Yo, Drigo, like read your story, bro. Like I resonate with it so much. Like I was stuck. I was feeling in this path that like I thought that like, you know, going, because I moved back home at 30 years old, right? Like for most people, like my friend group, like I'm moving back home from New York City to live at home with my parents. Most of my friends are getting married, having babies, doing all these different things. And here I am. So like, you know, for some people, like you gave me that permission, or you showed me that it was okay to take a step back to be able to take a step forward, right? And, you know, a couple of people I became friends with and stuff. And, you know, a lot of them I started helping. I'm like, what are you going through? And they're like, well, I'm having problems closing this client. I'm having trouble doing this, and that. And I had a guy from Iran that hit me up, and he's like, bro, he's like, you literally changed my life from like, where you're able to help me charge more money. Like, you know, someone there goes from charging like, you know, $100 for a video to charging $300 to $400 consistently. Like you're changing somebody's life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like when the message that I got from him, just like telling me like, I was like, bro, like, you know, how my family's doing, how I'm doing, like my whole living situation is so much better. Like that had such a huge impact on me. So it's like, I love getting paid by clients. When you get somebody that's like just pours out to you how you help them change or how you made an impact on them, like there's nothing that compares to that. So, you know, I started working on my YouTube stuff because now I want to reach more people. So like a lot of my stuff and what I do with YouTube right now is to teach people the business stuff that I'm learning from the Future and Christo, because that was the stuff that I wish I knew, right? Like I wish I knew, when I was charging $150 for a video, I could never imagine the fact that I was gonna do a 30-second video for $17,000 and use all stock footage and never leave my house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. But when you're able to learn to have conversations with clients about money and what kind of impact that this video is going to have for them, you're able to charge for more money. And those are things I never learned because, you know, 2016, 17, YouTube is not what YouTube is today, right? I think YouTube today, there's so many more people that do want to share and people that, you know, want to share their knowledge. I felt for me, when I moved home, like, bro, I couldn't tell you how many photographers, how many videographers I hit up, like literally like, hey, listen, I just moved back home from New York, love to collab. And they're like, no, bro, like you're moving into my market, like go back to New York type shit. Like that was kind of the welcome party that I got. So like as I got bigger here, like I still get DMs from people. I'm like, bro, you want to come on the shoot? Let me know. You just fill out this question form. Like I want to make sure that you're a good fit. I'm bringing you out to be around clients. I'll put you on, you know what I mean? I'm the first person that like, I'll put somebody on because like, I don't want to be that person that was that person to me. Like when I really needed help, everybody here in my market told me no. So I was like, I don't want to be that person.
That's amazing. I'd love to dive into that a little and give people a preview of your channel. So, man, I mean, you bring up one already that's like such an interesting topic for people to know. Like, I think most people, I mean, not most, but there are very good videographers that simply aren't charging enough. I think because maybe they're scared to ask for more. But, and you might have a video about this, but what would you recommend to somebody who's looking to actually charge more? And, you know, if they actually have the skill set to do that, how do they go about it?
I think the biggest thing for a lot of people, it's first of all, you need to be in a situation that you don't need the money, right? So for me, my first like when I moved back home at my mom's house, I was at my mom's house for about 2.5 years. And what that allowed me to do is to take on those really, low paying jobs, like 100, like, bro, I did so many $125 videos. And these are like videos like going out to shoot for 5-6 hours. And it was like a 3-minute edit type thing. So like, now if I was in a situation where I was like, moved back home, got an apartment, got a car bill, all these different things, I'm not putting myself in the situation to be able to succeed, or I'm not putting myself in a situation that I'm able to leverage the position I'm in, right? So like me being at my mom's house, not having to pay rent, you need a video for $200, done, I got you, right? I'm building my portfolio, I'm building that expertise. And I think for me, was when somebody was like, hey, so-and-so hit me up saying they do videos for $250, I'm like, hey, you're right, I did do a video for $250, but my new price is now is $500 per video. Do you want to go 500 so much? No worries, cool. If you change your mind, let me know. And it literally was like that, right? I was like, okay, 500. And then like they'd be like, oh, 500, like dope, we could do $500. I'm like, okay, if they're that easy, or they're like that willing to jump at $500, I'm not charging enough. So the next project, be like, hey, need a video? $750. No, I need a video? $1,000. Ooh, $1,000 is a lot. Can you do 900, 800? Okay, cool. And and I kept building up my portfolio, and I kept building up my skills. So like, I forgot, I had a big company out from like Alabama that they needed, it was like during a hurricane, and they were trying to do a video about what their company was doing for the hurricane, because they're like an insurance company thing. They're like, hey, we can't fly out. They're like, we need you to go, like, we need a half-day shoot in like a 3-minute video. I was like, $1,800. And they're like, we could do $1,800. Like, yo, I remember like looking at my sister, was like, yo, we just saw the video for $1,800. Like, but it was because I was in a situation that I was living below my means. Like, I didn't need that money as back. This is really hard for you to take those risky decisions or jobs when you need the money, because you have no leverage. So I think for most people, like if you're young, you're starting out, go, like, it's the same stuff that Gary preaches, like, go live in a freaking, place with a bunch of other people. Go back home and move in with your parents. Save your money. Don't go out and buy dumb shit. Like right now, I'm telling people, like, with the new stimulus check, I'm like, don't go buy gear. I'm like, go pay off your debt. Like, go, if you know how to invest in stocks, like, invest money in stocks. Like, buying the gear stuff is not going to put you in a better position. Like, if you can't get clients, it doesn't matter what gear you have. And that was another big thing for me too, because I started, for the first 2 years, I was trying to find a camera. I was shooting with the crop sensor, like Nikon $500 camera, right? And then one of my best friends now, when we became friends, was because he saw a video I did for somebody. He reached out to the company. He was like, hey, who shot your video? They're like, Rodrigo. He reached out to me, and he's like, hey, I do a lot of wedding films. I'm trying to transition into doing videos. Can I buy you lunch and pick your brain? And I was like, yeah, sure. Went to go grab lunch, and he's like, what are you shooting with? And I was like, oh, I have a Nikon D5300. And he's like, bro, I'm shooting with the A7 III, and like, I can't get clients. I was like, the clients don't care about what camera you're like. I never had a client ask me. So, you know what I mean? Like, I think those are things that people tell themselves, like, I need to have better gear. I need to get those clients. It doesn't matter. If you can't get a client at $500, buying a new camera is not going to change any of that. You're better taking that money to go buy a course or go do a workshop that's going to help you get more clients. The gear does not matter at all. Yeah, so I think that's what you need to do, right? It's like, get yourself in a position that you don't need the money, so you're not afraid to, I just put out a couple bids for like $4,000 or $5,000. I was gonna do it for like 3, and I was like, you know what? Let me try 5. Like, let me throw a random number out there to see if the client bites for it. And they're like, can we do 4,500? I'm like, yeah, we could do 4,500. So I was thinking 3. So they said 4,500. I could do 45. Like, that's cool with me. So but you gotta take those risks. But you also make sure that those risks are not going to bite you in the butt if you're not in the position to take them.
Yeah, man, that's great advice. I love that. And how much of it has to do with like getting yourself in the right rooms and getting to know the right people? Do you have any tips as far as things like that go?
Yeah, I mean, right now with that, we are in a tough space because a lot of the strategies and stuff that I think really worked in the past, I don't want to say that they don't work anymore, but like it changed. So, for me, before I used to go to like these photographer meetups and stuff looking to connect, but like I'm just connecting with other photographers, videographers and stuff like that. So, if I find out that there's going to be a dentist convention in my town, I'm going to drop by the dentist convention. You know what I mean? Like if it's even for me to drop off flyers outside, or if for me to buy a booth somewhere, because then I'm going to be the video guy at the convention and everybody's going to like, oh, I need a video or something like that. So like putting yourself in the position, I think I forgot who coined the term, but it's like blue ocean, red ocean. Like if you're in a red ocean, saturated with different people, it's really hard for you to send out. But blue ocean, it's abundant. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of people there. So I put myself in a blue ocean situation. So I think networking is super important. I think for most people now, it would be something along the lines of like maybe joining your Chamber of Commerce and stuff like that, or find people in your city that are doing things, right? I think the Chamber of Commerce, depending what town you're at, like my town, it's like $400 a year for you to join the chamber. So, if I land one client, it pays for itself. Or I think for a lot of people, even when I decided to do it, like to fork over $400, you're like, fuck, do I really want to put, because you don't know what the return is going to be, right? And it's such an old thing. But if you ever try to join a commerce, those people will hound you, right? Like as soon as you get into their system, like they're calling. So I know that there is a networking aspect of that, but they also know that like my clientele is usually a lot older. So for them, unfortunately, they are still doing old type of advertising. So for them, they do see a lot of value on still doing a newspaper and still doing all these different things. So, there's different ways you can approach this, but I think networking with someone that's good at networking in your town is the best way for you to really start building those connections.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm totally with you there. Man, so what does 2021 look like for you? Do you have some big goals for the year?
Big goals for the year. I definitely am trying to bring on 2 more people full time. We're also trying to double our revenue. But it's one of those things, we're going to see how that goes. But we're also going to move towards I'm looking to move towards a new space, which is going to be more of on-site training for people. So pretty much right now, with a lot of these businesses, is, in the past, whoever worked in a service industry before used to go in and do a shadow day, right? Shadow the day of, that's like, so a lot of places are not doing that anymore because of COVID. So there's an opportunity now to shoot these day in the life of, a server at the restaurant or, a warehouse stalker type thing. So I just think with that, this is where I'm probably going to look towards more of, because you can shoot a couple of videos, right? Because then you think about all the different roles. You can think about onboarding videos. So I think that market with being able to help businesses train their employees, I think that's huge, especially with video, right? Because you shoot the video for them. You're like, hey, how much time do you spend training someone? What about if we're able to get this into an iPad and you're able to train 2 or 3 people at once? But the best part now, they're all learning from the same person. Because my big thing, I came from, the restaurant industry. I did corporate in the restaurant industry for a bit. So like I got this very great training, and I saw how they train people. And I think the biggest thing from there was like, we used to sit in the classroom for 2 to 3 hours at a time, and we all watched the same video. So we all had the same basis. So bringing this and offering this to a lot of businesses, I think you're able to, charge a good amount of money for that. So I think that's where I'm going to move towards more of, because I'd rather work on, one $25,000 project for, 2 or 3 months than to try to do a bunch of $2 or $3 or $5,000 projects here and there. So I think that's where I'm looking towards. And then another big thing that I see happening is OTT with like on-demand television. Like Hulu right now is doing some testing in different markets that you as a business owner for $500, you're able to advertise on their platform. So they're going to need creative to go along with that. And there are a couple of agencies that have already partnered up with Hulu, but I see that as an opportunity for a lot of different networks that are going to start doing that. And you have you have local networks, but you also have a lot of different online networks that are going to be needing commercials to fill in those spots. So if you're early in the game and you start creating these, whatever it might be, I think Hulu's all 30-second commercials, but if you're able to create a 30-second commercial and start offering that to the business owner, like, hey, we can get you locally on this market for anyone that has Hulu, I think there's some opportunity there.
Yeah, man, that's interesting. I've heard of that space a little bit, so that's definitely something like if you can get in there early and make your name known as the Hulu content creator, that's a big thing.
But even with Facebook, right? Because I think the biggest thing for videographers and for a lot of people that are in the business, like you hear of like Paul Xavier and these other people that talk about doing these like $30,000 projects, but those $30,000 projects are also backed by distribution. Because for me, and what I realized and why I also got into like YouTube SEO was because I was giving these videos to my clients and then they were uploading it wrong. Like, they'll upload the video to YouTube and share the link on Facebook or like vice versa type thing where, they were not distributing the video properly. So I learned that was a big problem because they didn't have strategy. So if you're able to shoot a 15-second video or 30-second video for a restaurant, and then you're like, hey, for $500 a month, I could run ads for you in the local market, you're giving them an advertisement, and that's what they want. Because most clients, they don't care about video; all they want is results. So if you're able to provide results by running advertising for them, now you have consistent, income every month. But now you also have a client and retainer, which then you're able to either do upsells with them. But then normally, business owners know other business owners.
Yeah,
so they see you advertising, they're like, hey. I got this guy that does it, and you start building a name for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm actually on the flip side of it. So I'm in the digital marketing and advertising space, and I've really seen the value in partnering with videographers because I need that content creation side. So it's pretty interesting how that works, and I've developed a couple of good relationships and. Just on the flip side of where you're at. So it's definitely a really valuable space to be in.
Yeah, I mean, especially now, right? Because everything is online. So like, I think now people really realize the importance of having a good online presence because people need people are more than ever eating and consuming everything with their eyes. So anything from like you're trying to go out and go eat at a restaurant or something like that, you're looking at the reviews, you're looking at the photos. So be able to create content for people online that are browsing for your business is so crucial right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, I preach this one to a lot of people. I don't know how much you're involved with YouTube on the advertising side of things. But man, it's so much more affordable now than like Facebook or Instagram. It's pretty crazy how cheap you can get views on YouTube these days, and
really,
clients tend to be pretty surprised by that one.
I used Sprizzy a couple times to like help build my channel. Like the biggest thing, my biggest complaint with Google is their ads platform. I find it so unuser friendly. Like, I learned Facebook ads from like just trying to do Facebook ads and then watch a couple YouTube videos here and there. But I find with like YouTube, not YouTube, but like Google, their affinity audience and this and that. Like there's so many cool, like there's so many jargon and stuff for like the in ads. I was like, they made, I don't know, they've made it very hard for me. And that's definitely something that I wanted to do more of, because like I am in a video space, right? As much as doing video SEO is important, if you're able to then add, you know, advertisement on the pre-rolls and stuff like that on top of what you're doing, you just make yourself, you know, a lot more, you just look better for your client.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I feel like over time, these ad platforms have got to make it more user friendly. I mean, between like Facebook's new business suite, I feel like is kind of a mess. The Google Ads platform is all over the place. It's like, I don't know. Someday it'll surely get better.
Yeah, but and that's the thing, you know, I think Facebook did a good job at it because, you know, Facebook comes from a social background. So like I think the having that built-in user experience, we need to make it easy for them to spend money. Where I think Google comes more from like the internet, like, you know, you have a lot of developers creating this, which do you ever watch Silicon Valley?
Oh yeah, so, a little bit.
So like
Yeah.
there's an episode that the guy is like, you know, he puts out Pied Piper, which is the name of the company that they're working on, and he's like sharing it with a bunch of people, and they're like, dude, this is great, this is great, this is great, like we love it. And then they actually roll it out to the public, and the public hates it. And they're like, dude, this is so hard to use, da, da, da. And they're like, who did you show this to? Like, oh, I showed it to the developer at Google, and I showed it, and then they're like, oh, so you showed this a bunch of developers. Like, we actually want normal people to use it. Like, to a developer, yeah, this makes sense. But to someone that's not a developer, the user experience is horrible. I think that's where Google kind of comes from with their background.
Yeah, no, I think that could very well be the case. So I really appreciate your time. Man, where can people follow you at and get all this valuable information?
On Instagram, Drigo, DRIGO _who. My website, RodrigoTasca.com, and then it's Rodrigo Tasca on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Everybody go check him out. I know on Instagram he puts out a lot of cool content, shows the type of ads and different social media stuff that he creates, and it's always fun to follow along.
I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, man.
All right, bro.